anything you want to say, babes?
I just want to say thank you very much to everyone that's out there fighting for me. The team that's come together, and the support has been amazing. I've got a table full of rock stars here that are all working tirelessly around the clock fighting for this cause with me. And I just want all you guys out there across the world to know that I'm going to justify your effort, and I'm going to come back stronger and bigger and badder. And once I get back on my feet, we're going to justify all this. Make sure that all you guys' efforts don't go unnoticed. We're going to come together and have a huge, huge party.
Oh, Suki now. Ha ha. Hell yeah. I know my dogs are watching. And if you ain't, I know you will be. And if you are watching and you ain't my dog yet, I know you will be, because I'm dedicated to helping you get busy living. And what does that mean? Well, for us at this podcast, what we're trying to do is go on one epic adventure every single month for 55 months. And in the process, we're trying to help you learn some tips, tricks, strategies, and attitudes towards success so that you can lead a more purposeful, deliberate, and intentional life, no matter what hand was dealt to you. And I feel like I'm living this in the moment, because I've been dealt a hand today where I'm having extremely excruciating headaches. So even though I've been dealt this hand today, I'm going to push through just for you, because I appreciate you, and I'm here for you because you guys were here for me when I needed you the most. Tonight, we're going to talk about something that's really, really important. I feel like just not anybody that could watch this show tonight that is not going to be able to relate to this in some manner, way, shape, or form, especially with the epidemic that's going on around the United States of America, where we've got 100,000 people last year died from overdose. So tonight we're going to talk to somebody that's got some experience with how to get through that, not just in their own personal experience, but with having lost a loved one. And so this person has some really unique perspectives and ways of approaching this. So I'm extremely excited about bringing her to the stage to be able to enlighten you guys and share with you her experiences, because if there's anybody that's getting busy living, it's this girl. She's been through it and she's got through it, and now she's here to help you guys learn how to get through it too. But first, since nothing is worth having if it ain't worth sharing, please help me welcome to the stage my dynamic co-hostess out of Glendale, California, the one and only dynamic D-Rex.
Oh my goodness. Here we are once again. I am so sorry you're dealing with these headaches today. Guys, you don't even understand how much he pulled it together to introduce this topic to you right now. These headaches are extremely painful, and he's so determined to be here live for you. So I appreciate everybody who's here. You might find Swede's eyes closed for a lot of this interview, because he is really trying his best to be here every single second of it. So let's just see what happens, guys. And if you are here, I see that some people are here. Say hi in the comments and we will say hi to you. If you have your own personal story you want to share about anything we're talking about today, feel free to share it in the comments, and we'll bring it up and mention.
Hey, Rochelle, thanks for showing up, girl. Good to see you. We got a Don't Give Up the Ship graphic for those of you that are from the EPA. So welcome back to the Get Busy Living podcast.
Wait, what happened?
You're right, D-Rex. So please forgive me. I am always energetic. I feel like it really takes some serious weight to pull me down, calm me down, and cool me off. But I'll be honest with you, man, it's getting me today. So if I don't come with the normal charisma, if I'm not quite as witty as I used to, and if I don't make any inappropriate jokes, then you know that I've got some seriously bad headaches.
That's the truth right there. So I'm very excited to have our guest Jae Briggs on this show. She's got some really interesting stories to tell us that I'm sure are going to break your heart and inspire you at the same time. So I'm really looking forward to just digging into this. What do you say? We bring her on right now.
Let's get her on. Okay.
Hell we got today's guest, Jae Briggs, spiritual entrepreneur.
Hello.
Hello. So wonderful to see you.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
Jae, you're also coming to us out of Phoenix.
Yes, Northern Phoenix.
All right, but you were not always living here in the Southwest, right?
No, I grew up on Long Island.
Aha, we got two Pennsylvanians and a New Yorker here. So this I feel like that's kind of important information. I feel like people from the East Coast are different from the West Coast, and the people that transplant themselves from the East Coast to the West Coast here are a different kind of people.
Yeah,
there's people who stay on the East Coast, and there's people who stay on the West Coast, but then there's people that transplant themselves elsewhere. So why did you transplant yourself here? What were you looking for?
Yeah, so I actually followed my family out here. So I grew up on Long Island. I moved out here in my early 20s. My dad moved out here when I was 18 to go through the police academy at 49 years old. So kudos to dad.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, he kicked ass and became a cop. And then in 2011, my mom moved out here. 2012, my brother, my nephew, and his wife moved out here. And then 2013 is when I moved out here.
Do you know why everybody chose Phoenix as the new home base?
Yeah, so we were actually supposed to move out here when I was like 6 or 7 years old. My parents had bought land and were building a house. And at the last minute, my dad kind of backed out. So we stayed on Long Island. And then a couple of years later, my parents got divorced and we stayed on Long Island. And then when I turned 18, my dad wanted to kind of pursue his goal. He always wanted to be a cop, and he couldn't be a cop in New York because of the age restrictions. So it was between Pennsylvania or Arizona for him to go on this new endeavor. And he said he was tired of doing yard work. So he chose Arizona.
Yeah, that's interesting. You don't even want to be outside there in Phoenix like 3 months out of the year.
Right.
Okay.
That's awfully inspiring that your dad at midlife decided to make that change. And the fact that even though they were divorced, everybody just kind of followed each other out there, just like we're all going. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So then you found
gotta
yourself
tell
in
you,
Phoenix. Oh, go ahead, Swede.
while I've got the charisma, I got to tell
Uh-huh.
you about Jay's dad.
Papa Briggs.
So okay, so you're going to learn about Jay and her story, and thank you, Jay, for being willing to share this, because I know that there's a lot of pain that comes from it, but you've channeled that pain, and you're channeling it in the right direction. I mean, your marriage is a success story. But when I first met Jay, I met her on New Year's, and she, the predominant thing that was going on in her life was that she was newly clean. She had just quit and beaten addiction. I mean, I guess is that even possible? Do you ever beat it? Don't you just always just suppress it? I don't know. But she was very proud. She was, I've been through it in my life, and so here I am. So when we first met, we had a mutual friend that kept us together, and as time went on, that friend dissipated from our lives, and we just got really close. In fact, Jay started my first streak, this 55 months in a row streak, actually once accidentally already began, and we went on like 4 months in a row or something like that of traveling together once. But I got a story to tell. So Jay's after we got really close after that New Year's, throughout the course of the following year, we got really close. And she's like, "Hey, sweet, do you have plans for Thanksgiving?" Knowing that I was living in a nursing facility, I didn't have any friends around here except for her and a couple other randoms. She's like, "My dad said that you're welcome to come over for Thanksgiving." And so I just got to tell you that when I met Jay, and she told me that she had, been through addiction, and she described what her life was like, and a lot of things that you're going to hear tonight. I have to admit that I was a little bit inaccurately judgmental, and I imagined that was vulnerable in that realm. probably had somewhat of a similar upbringing that I had, and I was imagining that she was from somewhat of a similar background than I was. So when she was like, "Yeah, my dad has a house up in North Phoenix. It's way out in the boonies," I was thinking like, okay, so this guy, his daughter like became addicted, and so he's up in the boonies, and she's like, it's gonna be a long ride to get out there. So I'm thinking I'm like riding to some trailer park up in the boonies, right?
Mhm.
And I was expecting it, and Jay's very much like me, and as far as like uh, slightly outrageous. Not, I don't think anybody's as outrageous as I am, but we have a lot of fun together, and so I was imagining her dad was like a rock and roll dad. I was expecting like a Motley Crue T-shirt and shit, and because I didn't know anything about him. All I knew was that I was invited to Thanksgiving. And so I was imagining like a mesh trucker hat, like a I'm with stupid T-shirt or something. I don't know, but so we're riding up there. I'm like, yeah, I would love to come to your dad's house and have Thanksgiving. You want me to bring anything? And she's like, no, we'll have everything. And I'm thinking we're gonna have, like I don't know. I'm just gonna be quiet and just tell you this. So when we're getting there, like I was riding in, because I have my power wheelchair, so I had to get special transportation up there. And I was riding up there, and I kept telling the guy, I was like, "Are you sure you're going the right way, man?" Because like the further we got out of town, the nicer the neighborhood got. And I was like, "Wait, are you sure we're going to the right place?" So we pull it up, and he's like, "Oh, are you sure? Are you sure?" He's like, "Yeah, just the address." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's the address," and that's what she said. And so we pull up, and then we come around the bend, and we pull up to the house, and there's like this huge flag in the front yard, and there's a whole bunch of police cars in the front yard. I was like, "We're definitely not at the right place." I call her up and I'm like, Jay, are you sure? Like, is this where we're at? And she's like, yeah, there's a state trooper, a state trooper car, a state trooper van, a state trooper truck. And I was like, what the hell? So we get out. I get out and I like knock on the door, and Jay's dad answers the door, and it's like Clark Kent. This dude's he's like, I was expecting like something like I was expecting like the teacher off of Beavis and Butthead, and this dude, he's tall, he's handsome, he's dapper, he's got like this chiseled jaw. He literally looked like Superman, on Thanksgiving. And he's like firm handshake, like and invites me into this beautiful house. And like, man, I've never misanticipated a person. So Doug, Papa Briggs, Dad, like seriously, much love to you. You totally have blown me away, and I mean, I've been such a huge fan ever since. But I just think that it's so ironic how we never talked about him. We was always talking about each other. And I'm sure that you always spoke highly of him. Like you love your dad, but for some reason, because of me filling in the blanks without properly asking questions or whatever. I just was like, I was totally expecting something totally different. And he's like so well spoken. He's in command. Like when you're in the room with him, it's like you're in the room with him. You know what I mean? And like he's hospitable. He's in control. He takes care of all the business. Like everybody. Like it's like being in his presence. And then, I mean, I'll end it here, but kudos on the wedding. Kudos on the wedding.
Yes. Yes.
So I'll leave it at that and let you resume.
And that's really fascinating. Your dad is a police officer, his friends are police officers. How did it happen that how did your addiction start? And can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So what happened was when I moved out here, I started working at a bar restaurant. I was been in the restaurant industry my whole life, like since I started working. So it was just natural for me to find a bar out here that I could work at.
Excuse me.
So
Allow me to interject one more time. I think it's important to note, Jay, when we were talking the other day, you were talking about coming out of high school, how you had a passion for healing, and you actually explored medical school back in New York before you moved out to Arizona. And I think
yes,
that just to touch on that really briefly before you get into this restaurant, because it kind of comes back around.
sure, yeah. So I went to college in New York for photography. That's what I first went for. And then after that, I kind of wanted to do something more. I wanted to help others heal. So I was getting credits at the community college, like, bio and all the math and the calculus and all that fun stuff, to work my way up to get into medical school. So I was looking to go into medical school on Long Island. And then when I moved out here, I had found that there was a school, Midwestern University, that I was like, oh, well, this is a great school. I'm going to just pick up where I left off in New York, transfer my credits, go to community college to get the stuff that I can, and then go to Midwestern. I needed to wait about a year to get my residency in Arizona. And within that year, that is when I found my drug of choice. So, yeah, everything got put on the back burner then.
So what is that and how did it happen?
Yeah, so I was working at the restaurant and I had met this guy who also was from New York. And we just hit it off. You know how East Coasters do. They just meet each other and they just, it just is what it is. So I would go over to hang out with him. We'd like smoke some weed, we'd drink, we'd just chat all night, One night I had gotten into a fight with my at the time boyfriend and was really upset. Went over to his house, was drinking, was smoking, and he was like, hey, you want to do a line? And he chopped up some lines. Me being from New York, I just assumed it was cocaine. Well, it wasn't. It was meth. So I did a line of meth there, and that was it. Like, it just snowballed after that. It went from like one line a day to multiple lines a day to then I was smoking it and eating it. And it just took over my life for the next 5 years. I was I was working many different jobs. I usually worked a lot. I would work at different bars, different restaurants, but I couldn't keep a job for long because I always showed up late, or I wouldn't show up because I would be up for so many days and then I would crash and be out cold and not hear my phone or not hear my alarms and just be out. So,
wow. Can you tell me, because what's going through your head at that point? Are you thinking I'm messing up, or are you only thinking about just getting high the next time?
Yeah, so it was kind of hard because I always had money, I always had a job, and I was always getting high. So it was like, yes, I knew that I was messing up, but I enjoyed it way too much. It was way too much fun. It really was. Like, I was just energized. I was awake. I was doing all the things, starting so many projects that I never finished. And just was like having a really good time, honestly. So it was in the back of my mind, probably, but I never really gave it any notice.
I would like
Did
to.
it ever? Oh no, go ahead.
I would like to just take a moment to say that I do not have a great deal of experience with any kind of illicit drugs. I am currently taking part in No Nonsense November. And so for me, cutting out all the nonsense just means cutting out alcohol and marijuana, which are relatively widely accepted these days. And I have a medical marijuana access that helps with my condition in general. And alcohol, has been around as long as um, anything you can ask for. And Bro Doug, yeah, please. And so when it comes to like illicit drugs like cocaine and meth and heroin, like I don't even know what heroin looks like. I think anybody that's ever been to a nightclub has at some point seen cocaine in the bathroom. But so meth looks like cocaine is what you're saying. Like when you like you said you did a couple lines and you thought that it was cocaine, and then after that it's like it just steals you and takes you away from any kind of um, desire for reality, right? Is the way that it was described to me before. Like it's just like you just feel like you're on this roller coaster, you're in a theme park all the time, and so I felt like it's necessary to mention that because I do think that there's a great contingency of our audience that probably has very little exposure to drugs also. And don't get me wrong. I mean, in society these days, it's as in your face as all of the other evils, especially with the way the internet and information is spread around. But I think that, just describing that so that people can understand that it's, uh, it, it's quite it's quite a slippery slope and quite an easy mistake to make, and then
Yeah.
once you make that mistake, it's it's very simple to slide all the way down. And so I just wanted to clarify that for anyone that might not understand, how simple a mistake that actually is to make.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, meth is like super, super addictive too. They always say like you try it once and then you don't stop because
And
you try it
especially
once.
if you have the genetic trigger for it, you wouldn't know until you trip the trigger, and then
Yeah.
it's too late.
Mhm.
Is there an addiction gene in your family? Was there any clue that might be a problem?
Yes, there is. There definitely is. There's addicts on both sides of my family. Yeah.
I
But nobody
apologize
would
for
ever
that.
think that they have.
Go ahead. Sorry, DX. Go ahead.
That's all. I was just saying, nobody would ever guess that they would be the one that has it. Everybody would love to believe that they're the one that doesn't have the gene in the family that everybody else struggles with.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, especially because like when I was growing up and in high school, like I smoked weed, but I would purposefully like not smoke weed for a month because I wanted to know that I had control over it. So, like I always had that in the back of my mind, like, oh, my family, like I do come from family members that are addicts. So what? And my friends would be like, well, why are you doing that? And I was like, because this is something that I need to do for me, because I want to make sure that like I'm not abusing this drug and it's not becoming a crutch, that like I can put it down when I want to. So
But meth
for
was
me,
different, where you could not put it down.
yeah. Yep.
Did it ever worry you that your dad, being a police officer, might suspect that this was a problem for you? It might be visible.
Oh, absolutely. 100%, especially when I got arrested too. And
Oh,
he'd
well,
find
that's
out that I was,
visible. Yeah,
yeah.
that's pretty visible. He
Yeah.
wasn't the one that arrested you, was he?
No, thankfully. That would have been terrible.
Okay.
But no, he would
Wow. I
know.
mean,
He
it's
would
terrible
find out.
enough. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But he would find out and then, and I would feel guilty then too, because I'm like, here my dad is like, a couple years on the job and his drug addict daughter is getting arrested. And how does that look on him? But, that didn't give me enough reason to get sober neither.
So before you were arrested, and we'll get into that in a second, do you think that he suspected this?
I think my whole family did because it was like my habits. I wasn't sleeping. I'd be out randomly. Like I would just stop home to like shower and change and then head back out. And I would be not available for like family events. If there was a family event that happened, I would show up 2-3 hours late if I showed up at all. I dropped down to like 104 pounds. So that was pretty noticeable too. And I just blamed it on like, oh, I'm stressed and I'm not eating, and because that was something that I did is when I got stressed out, I don't eat. I just am one of those people. So I would just say that. And like, I would just come up with all the kinds of lies that I could to try and thwart it. Like, oh no, I'm not using, I'm just doing this or I'm just doing that. And, so. But
and did you feel like you were passing as normal? Did you feel like this is fine? Nobody can tell.
I want to say yes, because I did still go to work and I was still like active in like community and like, friends and like people at work. And like I was always talking and like around. So it wasn't like I would shut myself off in like a room. So I was always pretty social. So,
the reason I'm asking you that, I just feel like a lot of people would assume that it would be obvious that their friend or their sister or their daughter might be using drugs. People might assume that would be an obvious thing. But even with your dad being a police officer, nobody really called you out on it. It wasn't so obvious that they need to just jump in.
They did call me out on it. My mom tried to give me drug tests. Yeah, it took them a little bit for it, but they did. Yeah. And my mom tried to give me drug tests and I would just leave. my dad had like a big heart to heart with me and told me like, hey, listen, if this is what you want to do with your life, then that's fine, but I'm not going to be a part of it. So like,
Okay, so
yeah.
that's really interesting. So they were onto you, and
Yeah.
it wasn't as passable as you imagined, and the lies didn't cover it. And I
No.
think that's kind of important to point out, that anybody who's struggling with addiction might think that their stories are covering it, but people know that you need help.
Oh yeah, for sure. 100%. I thought, I mean, at work, they didn't really know. But at home life, they totally did. And I would just
And then
be not there.
I understand that also your brother became addicted.
Yeah. Yeah. So my brother was 3 years older than me. He is a Iraq veteran. He was over in Iraq when he was 20 years old and saw a lot of things and experienced a lot of things that a 20-year-old kid, or really any age person, should not have seen or experienced. And when he came home, he was messed up. He was really messed up. So he turned to alcohol. Alcohol was his drug of choice. He came home to a couple-month-old baby that he didn't really know about. So that was a big shock. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So that was a big shock.
Uh-huh.
And then he just kind of went into a depression. He was good. Like, he would have his ups and downs. Like, he was back working, but he got a DUI. So he was, heavily under the influence, really heavily, and passed all the field sobriety tests. And the judge was like, this is an issue. He's like, you blew whatever number it was, like a 0.3 something, whatever. And he passed all the field sobriety tests. And he was like, so that means that there's a deeper problem here. So, so it was always there. And then when he moved out here is when it really got worse. It was probably 5-6 years ago is when his alcoholism got really bad. I'd say 6 years ago, at least. Yeah. Where he would be hiding vodka bottles. He would be drinking all the time, constantly drunk. And again, he would think that he was hiding it, right? He's just drinking from a water bottle that's literally vodka. And I'd be like, you're fucking wasted. And he'd be like, no, I'm not. And I'm like, give me that water. Let me try that. He's like, no. And I'm like, okay.
No.
No.
I think what's necessary to point out is you were kind of alluding to it a little bit ago, D-Rex, is that you had, although, so I've met both your mom and your dad. I spent more time with your mom at the wedding and your dad than everybody else. And amazing people and strong support system. And I think it's important to note that, it was the presence of that, like we're a very relatable place here. We're trying to let people that are out there struggling know that they're not struggling alone, and that just because they're struggling, that doesn't make them lesser people. Whether you have a strong support system or not, nobody is invulnerable. And the fact that you had a strong family support system in place, and were still you still fell victim, and your brother as well had some trauma, and we're going to get to PSD and how that affects you. We've got an upcoming podcast with one of my favorite people where he's going to enlighten us to his experiences with PTSD. But the fact that you had this family here that that were present in your life, and talk about how their presence and their support kind of helped you to still maintain somewhat of a grip on reality, and that you knew in your heart that hiding from your family and everything is kind of like was almost a rope to help pull you out of there. And how unfortunately because of the PTSD with him, it wasn't strong enough for him.
Yeah. So, I mean, my family has always been super supportive of me and my dreams and my aspirations. So when I finally started to get sober, I had their support. Yeah, Gina. So yeah, they supported me with everything. Any decision or any goal that I had, they were right behind me. So it was hard letting them down, like I was ashamed, I was embarrassed because I was just floating through life, like getting high and just doing what I wanted to do and not paying them any attention, not being with my family and just separating from them. So it was difficult. But knowing that they would be there when I was ready. Like I always knew that as soon as I made the choice to get sober, that they would be behind me 100%. So when that day came on November 5th of 2019, my best friend Nick from New York actually flew out to come visit me. And he was the decision really as to why I got sober. Because my best friend, he's known me since I was about 4 years old. And he's taken this trip, across the country to come spend time with me. And here I am getting high and living in a studio apartment. And I'm like, well, first my addict brain is like, well, where am I going to hide? And how am I going to get high while he's out here? And how is he not going to know that I'm getting high, in the same building or in the same, apartment? And then I was like, this just isn't possible. Like, I can't do that. Like, it's not fair. So that night before he showed up, I decided like, I'm not going to use anymore. And yeah, so it was the best decision of my life, honestly.
I thought it was interesting how you were telling me that because of this support system, you still had at least a lifeline on reality, and then and the most unexpected thing caught your attention. It was a magazine.
Yes. Okay. That's what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah. So while I was still using, I was always still kind of health conscious. I know that's an oxymoron. Eating my fruits and vegetables and my smoothies while I'm smoking meth. But hey, so
you're into things that feel good. So that makes sense. Yeah. I get it.
Yeah. So, I found this magazine one day. It was called like Natural Awakenings, and they're all over here in Arizona. And I was reading it because there's like cool articles about health and consciousness and like meditation and recipes and stuff. So I was like reading it because, I was just sitting there awake. And then I flipped to the back page, and the back page is a whole advertisement for the Southwest Institute of Healing Arts. And it was about like finding your gifts and graces and sharing them with the world in a loving and profitable way. It's about like coming home to yourself. And it had things like holistic nutrition on there and Reiki and energy healing. And I was like, this sounds really cool. I'm going to check this place out. So I actually reached out to them, had a phone appointment, and they would like come down to a Gifts and Graces event, which is like a complimentary event they have on the first Friday of every month. So I went down there, and it was actually Casey Miller, the owner of the school, speaking at this event. And I like had my notebook down, and I had my pen, and I was like writing down the things that she was saying. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is hitting me right in the heart. Like she is speaking directly to me. Like, have you ever felt like you don't fit in? Have you ever felt weird, or people are, think that you're a little bit strange? Do you have these voices in your head that tell you to go for it, or, that are, just guiding you through life? And I was like, yeah, this has been my life. Like, so I knew that was the school that I had to go to. Right. So, and it circles me back to wanting to help others and wanting to help others heal. Because through that journey, even when I was like using, I found out that like doctors are just prescribing medications. They're not actually getting to the root cause or getting to the healing that people need to experience. They are just bandaging it. And I was like, well, that's not what I want to do. I don't want to go to school and learn about medications and all that stuff. So that is also why I was like, well, I'm just going to keep using then. Why not? Because now I don't have a goal. Right? Because I never thought that there was like a school out there that could teach me how to heal others and how to facilitate healing in others. I just didn't think that it was possible, So when I found that article and then when I found this school, I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I have been waiting for. Like, this is the school that will help me to be of service to others. And so I went to the Gifts and Graces, you know, I had contact with their admissions team. And, you know, I was probably right in the middle of my addiction. I didn't have a car anymore. I was probably couch surfing, you know, not really a stable home. And I was like, well, how am I going to enroll into school if I don't even have somewhere to live? Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I'm just going to put this on the back burner and just know that this school is there for me when I'm ready to take that step. So from that Gifts and Graces to fast forward 3 years later is when I finally enrolled. And it was August 26th of 2019. And I actually was still using while I was going to school. I had a stable home, you know, I had my studio apartment. I didn't have a job yet, but I was enrolled in school and I was doing it. I kept telling myself the beginning of August, I'm going to get sober this month. I told myself, oh, I'll get sober on my birthday. Then my birthday happened and I was like, it's my birthday, I'm going to get high. And then it just, you know, and then it just rolled and rolled and rolled until that day on November 4th when I made the decision. And then November 5th is when I got sober.
So I think that's interesting that you simply chose to get sober. I know that it's more difficult than that sounds, but what was it like the very next day that you chose not to get high?
It was difficult as hell. I mean, it was definitely difficult. I was exhausted, you know, from being up for years. So I was tired. I just wanted to sleep all the time. But it's funny because I had accepted a job that day too. So not only was it my first day sober, but it was my first day at a 9-to-5 job. And then I had class from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. So, so I really had no time to think about getting high. So I think that's what helped me a lot too, because I had that structure. Like, I needed to get up in the morning. I needed to feed my dog. I needed to walk him, you know, I needed to get myself ready and go to work and then go to work and all that. What helped me so much every morning was meditation. I would wake up and kratom. I actually started taking kratom, which is a herb. It's a powdered herb that actually is helpful for people who want to get off heroin. So it's a natural herb that.
Can you spell it? Because I've never heard of this.
Yeah, it's Kratom. So it's just a powdered green herb. There's all different kinds of strains that help with all different kinds of things. Like if you want more energy, or if you're wanting to go to sleep, or, you know, if you need more focus. So they have all different kinds of strains that would help. So I started taking that in the morning. It would give me my energy. It would give me my mental focus. And I would meditate. I meditated at least 3 times a day. I would meditate in the morning. I would meditate on my lunch break, and I would meditate before sleep.
How long?
So at least 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were they specific meditations that helped you, or was it trying to silence thoughts? How did you approach it?
I actually, so it was really hard for me to silence thoughts. So I would actually go on the app. It's called Smiling Mind. And I would listen to different meditations on that. So it's like a guided meditation. So they would like help me breathe and then like focus on different things. And that would allow my mind to calm down, because at that point in such an early stage of recovery, my mind was constantly going and I couldn't really quiet it. So for me to like sit in silence, it was very difficult. So I had a guided meditation that would help me kind of center and ground.
Wow. I can't imagine how hard that must have been, just to kind of find your own way through becoming sober. You know, I think that, you know, people have Alcoholics Anonymous, or they have, I don't know, therapists that they work with when they're coming off of drugs, or medical professionals. And it sounds like you kind of took this on as your project, that you were really going to stop, and you put things in your life that were roadblocks to you using again. And I think that's really significant. So that was how many years ago?
It just was 4 years ago, and November 5th was my 4-year anniversary.
So can you let
Wow.
us know what happened with your brother's addiction?
Yeah, absolutely. So as I was getting sober in my recovery, you know, I got my family back. My dad was back in my life 100%. I'd talk to him every day. My mom would talk to him. Talk to my mom every day.
Look at this
And
guy. This is an important
yeah,
player. We'll tell that story a little bit before we get off of here. Go ahead.
absolutely. Yeah. So I had my family back. So then I was hanging out with my brother a little bit more, my nephew, and all of that. And I was watching him just continuously get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. I would try talking to him about it, like, hey, listen, like, I know that you're going through things, you know, like I went through it too. Like, I get it. The demons are hard. The demons are, they want to keep you down. They really do. And they will do everything that they can to have power over you. And so I was trying to have heart to hearts with him, trying to show him the way, and it just was falling on deaf ears. Um, and so I got to the point where like he was really affecting me and my inner peace to where I had to kind of draw a line and keep him at a distance because watching him slowly kill himself was breaking my heart and affecting my energy field. So I had to like kind of be at a distance with him. There's numerous times that my brother would try and get sober on his own, which you can't do with alcohol. If anybody's an alcoholic, please don't get sober on your own. You can really damage your body. He would have seizures, his kidneys and liver would shut down. He would, be choking on his own vomit. It was really scary. So there's actually a time where he was hospitalized many times because my mom had found him having a seizure one day. He went to the hospital. His wife found him having a seizure one day, went to the hospital. And the doctors even told him, like, if you have another drink, you will die. And so he would stay sober for maybe a couple weeks and then go back to drinking. And we all tried to talk to him, every single person. And it was just, like I said, falling on deaf ears. So it was really heartbreaking because here I am, like living my best life, like literally living my best life. I'm happy, I'm energized, I'm going to school for something passionate, I'm starting my own business, you know, and I'm living it. And I'm like, don't you see like what you can do if you get sober? But his demons were just so strong, so strong.
The power.
And and
Power of
his PTSD
post-traumatic
was, his PTSD was so untreated. He wouldn't talk about it. He wasn't open to things that I was suggesting. And that's really the hardest thing about being who I am is like, and being a healer or, you know, is meeting people where they're at. And it's like, so I had to meet him where he was at. And like, I knew that there was so much more for him, but he just wasn't there. So that's why I had to pull away, because it was like, I can see what you're doing and I know what you can be doing and you're ignoring it. And it's breaking my heart. So he actually, he had passed away last May from alcoholism. He drank himself to death. And
I'm really sorry about that. And I didn't know, I don't know too much about this story, but that's unimaginable. I feel like no matter what kind of example you could have set, if somebody can't make that choice for themselves, the healing can't happen.
Yep.
And
absolutely.
sometimes the trauma is too big that you can't even make that choice without a lot of help, without a team.
Yeah. And, you know, I think that it should be anyone that's listening and will listen, it should really fall heavy on you that, you know, I met your brother and I hung out with him and we had great conversations. Hilarious guy, smart guy, vibrant guy, was very, very skilled at masking it. And I remember you being like, "No, he's wasted." And I was like, "What?" You're like, "No." And then me and him went and played pool. He tried to help me play pool. Well, because your dad's got this awesome pool room, but and and then I started to notice, the like slips in his behavior that like showed me that he wasn't completely all there. But it's just it really needs to be acknowledged that it can happen to the best of us. Be careful, be cognizant, tie into a support system. We're a young community here. The Help Street Walk Again family helped us pull this together. And, you know, if you're a person that doesn't have a strong family support system like what Jay has, you know, I have said it time and time again, and I cannot say it enough. I cannot stress it enough, and I cannot mean it more. That I don't care who you are. If you have no one and you need someone, man, I'm the easiest guy on the planet to get a hold of. And Mike, if you're watching, I got your message. I apologize. The headaches have kept me from you, but just a perfect example. I don't know what you were reaching out for. Probably not anything related to this, but the point is, y'all, that there are support systems out there, and if not this community, which I know that eventually this is going to be a strong community, much more populated than it is now. If not us, there are places that you can go, and not only when you go there, you can meet wonderful people like Jay. Because Jay has staffed those kinds of places, and you can meet wonderful other people there that are working in those kind of places. Jay, you want to
Yeah.
talk about kind of people that you can meet, the staff members that you can meet?
Absolutely, yeah.
So there you were. You have beaten addiction, or you have escaped the pitfall, and you're in school doing what you love. You're learning how to heal people from the inside out spiritually. You're learning how to do sound healing. You're learning how to do yoga healing, and then just when you were struggling with your brother's roller coaster, and you were just needing that. Then out of nowhere comes Santa Claus with a guy in a sack.
Yep, out of nowhere. Out of nowhere. I do want to back up real quick though, because
Sure.
in school, like it's not all about healing others. The biggest thing there is to heal yourself, because you can only facilitate the healing in others, or you can only go as deep facilitating healing in others as deep as I myself have gone. So that school has helped me heal tremendously. So it's all about healing myself first and experiencing what I'm learning about to do for my business firsthand. Because if I'm not experiencing it and doing it for myself, how am I going to show someone else how to do it? So I just wanted to kind of piggyback off that.
That's
But
powerful.
yes.
And I would, before we go into this next little segment, I would like to say that, when Lyric came out here to help me a couple of years ago, the way that you talked about that school, and saying things like that about, healing yourself before you can have the experience and wisdom and knowledge and abilities to heal others, must have really impacted her powerfully, because she's now alumni of that school as well.
Yep, she is. Yeah. Sweeha has really changed my life, from someone that was super dark and depressive and, suicidal ideations and all of those things that go along with addiction, not fitting in, not feeling right, not feeling enough, all of those things. Sweeha really taught me how to come back to my true authentic self, how to make a home in myself, and how to battle those demons, but also befriend those demons, because really they're just shadow aspects of the self. And shadow aspects of the self need to be acknowledged, and they need to be having a conversation with, really, because there's always a nugget of gold in that deep, dark shadow. There's always something to learn about your shadow self. And it really shows you shows you another side of things, because we wouldn't be the people we are today without those shadow aspects. And really those shadow aspects are just wanting to be seen and acknowledged.
Amen.
And the more that you ignore them, the deeper and darker they will get. And the more that you acknowledge and befriend them, the lighter they become. So that was one of the most important things that I learned there. And it's like being friends with those shadows, because I've run from them my whole life and tried to numb them with drugs and, alcohol and sex and all the things, right? And instead, I just needed to befriend them and welcome them into my life and say, hey, I see you. And what are you teaching me? And I think that was one of the most powerful things that I learned there.
That's a strong statement of support of what we end this show with each week. That, you know, there's no joy without pain, and you're right. There's no, when you have lights, you're always going to cast shadows, and so, you know, they're opposite sides of the scale, and there's balance in life. You know, so those things are important to acknowledge. That's really powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I learned energy healing work, which was super helpful because it's just something that I've always known that I could do. I wasn't channeling from the right energy. I was channeling from myself instead of source. So it was super draining. So that school taught me about how to connect to source and use that energy for Reiki healing. I learned about holistic nutrition, which is something I'm super passionate about, how important it is that you feed this vessel, because what you feed your body is going to show up in your skin, in your actions, and how you just show up in life. And then I started learning about yoga, and yoga is what truly changed my life. Yoga philosophy, when I read the Bhagavad Gita, that was like, oh, what I believe, this was written how many years ago? Like, it was wonderful finding a book that I was like, this is exactly what I've believed for so many years, and it's a known philosophy. So reading that book and learning about the 8 limbs of yoga, and just really learning about what yoga is and how it's not just exercise. Like, yeah, I love hitting my mat and getting some asana on, but it's more about what I'm learning on the mat and taking it into real life. The patience and the calmness and the just neutrality that I have experienced since beginning yoga 3 years ago, 4 years ago, has really changed my life for sure, because that is what allowed me to get back in touch with my body, to be okay with feeling sensations again. Because with addiction, I numbed so much that I didn't know what I was feeling. I couldn't put words to my feelings. I couldn't put like, oh, I'm feeling this here, and that's because of this. I was just like, why am I feeling this way? Or why do I have this pounding headache? Instead of listening to my body and the slight signals that it's telling me about, hey, something's going on here. Need to pay attention. So yoga allowed me to kind of get back in touch with my body, with my true authentic self, and realize that I can be me, and I don't care if anybody likes me, because I like me. I love me, actually. I fucking love me. I'm pretty awesome.
I agree.
You know, I think it should
Go
be
ahead,
noted
Steve.
that what a lot of folks don't know, especially because the practice has become so Americanized, is that yoga, in a lot of perspectives, is the most ancient religion, and the Bhagavad Gita is a collection of stories that have been, you know, passed along. It's not like a Bible, but I guess conceptually it's similar. But it's yoga is it's a pathway. It's an understanding. It's a connection. And you know, I was watching something recently about the difference between Christianity and Judaism, and how there's so many commonalities, yet there's a couple major aspects of them that set them apart. But the commonalities are that there's a search for, you know, acknowledgement of a source, like you say, or you know, a higher power. And with yoga, people think it's just stretching class, you know, and it's not. It's the stretching is just one of the methods of yoga that they teach, that is a physical method that just kind of encourages you to tune out the outside world and pay closer attention. Think about it. Have you ever tried to keep your knees locked and touch your toes? It's pretty easy to pay attention to that tension in the back of your legs when you're stretching. And so it's just another method of doing that, you know. So I think that's important for people to know that it's not just like some hippie stretching class. Yoga is it's one of the most ancient religions, and personally, I find it to be the most inspiring.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, asana exercise, or the asana, the postures, is just one of the 8 limbs of yoga. So there's so much more to it, you know. That's just an eighth of what yoga really is.
Speaking of so much more, let's talk about what more you got out of working in that rehab facility. And then we want to talk, we're
Yeah,
going to round it out with what you have to offer anyone that might be interested in learning from you and tapping into your healing powers.
absolutely. Yeah. So, working at the rehab, I met this amazing man who we just hit it off. We just chatted. We just talked about our dark days. We chopped it up with our war stories, and just couldn't stop talking. We met in like the beginning of August, and we never stopped talking. I was living with
Hmm.
Swede at the time, and Jeremy would come over. We were both working overnights. Jeremy would come over. We'd hang out, all the things. And he was just a constant. Like from the day I met him, he was just not ever not talked about. Like he was
Hmm.
always in my life because it was like a best friend that I had. And it was great because like we both weren't wanting a relationship. We just were two friends hanging out, having fun, experiencing life together. And, so it was great. There was no lies. There was no trying to be anybody else. It was, we were both each our own authentic selves. And it was great. No anxiety or any of that. So it was lots of fun. And then he kept hanging out more and more and more. And Swede kept calling him my boyfriend. And I'm like, damn it, Swede. Like, no.
I, I had high hopes, man. I mean, I got the same version of him that you did. Like he's such an easy guy to talk to. He's got such a great sense of humor and just cool, calm, collected. Like really, I mean, just man. I mean, I don't have. And I said that at your wedding, I hung out with your mom and dad the most. I actually hung out with his mom more than I hung out with him.
Mama
you know,
Taylor.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, he's. I mean, what a great find. I'm the biggest
Yeah.
Jeremy fan. So props, brother.
Absolutely. Yeah.
In fact, Jeremy, if you're part of the audience, man, why don't you tune in and give your newlywed wife a little smooch on the cheek so everybody can see
So I
the
think
great
that's the
cat.
part of the
Yeah.
story that we missed out on is when did you guys get married?
Yeah, we got married October 28th. Yeah.
Just
So it was
recently. And
just
what a
recently.
beautiful bride you were and are.
Yes.
And
Thank you.
that's such wonderful news. You guys are such a cool couple. And
Yes.
I can tell that we are so running out of time, but I'm really curious what
Aw.
kind of words of oh, there he
There he
is.
is. That's my dog. What's up, brother?
Hi.
Hello.
There he is.
You guys are great.
Thanks for making an appearance, man.
Yeah, that was nice little cameo there.
Yeah.
I would like to know what kind of words of wisdom you can impart to people who are trying to stay sober over the holidays or when there's parties or gatherings. Like what did you do that really helped you?
Yeah. So lean on your friends and family. Lean on them. Lean on the support system that you have because there are people out there that are rooting for you and that are in your corner. You just have to reach out. That's the biggest thing. Stay true to yourself, stay true to your morals, stick to your goals. I am a very much a results person, outcome person. So that is what was enabled me to stay sober for so long because the results that I was seeing from being sober were way better than the results that I was seeing when I was getting high. So if you think about picking up a drink or if you think about picking up a drug, think about the life that you had when you were using and think about, is that really the life or the path that you want to be on? Or do you want to be on a path where you can experience a better, happier life? It's not going to be an easy path. Believe me, it's not. It's very up and down. It's very bumpy, rocky, roady. But that is where you have your support system, your friends, your family, your loved ones to lean on and let them know, hey, I'm, having these thoughts. Speak about it. Don't keep it locked up inside of you. Speak it out. Speak it out so that way people are knowing what's going on in your life. They're knowing what you need support with, and they're able to show up and help you because help is always there. You just need to ask for it.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
Something that we have spoken about a lot. One of the things that really struck me when we were chatting, Jay, recently was, I asked you, with it being such a chemically addictive and overpowering substance that got a hold of you, and anyone that's suffering from it, acknowledge that it is it's not your fault completely that it is a chemical that is powerful. It's just as powerful
Hmm.
as the chemicals that make you a person. And
Yeah.
so, but just recognize the thing that you said to me that stuck me, Jay, was when you said, when the pain of staying the same is is more than the pain of change, then you'll know that it's time.
Yeah.
And you told me that you told me that you were looking at what your life was like, and you knew that you weren't your best self, and all the fun times weren't they were not true, and something that you could take with you. And so that's when you were like, that's when I know that it was time that I needed to make this move. So that
Yeah.
was really strong. It was really strong.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So Jay, I can't tell you how much you've inspired me since I met you, learning your story. When you told me on New Year's, we were in a casino on New Year's having a heart-to-heart conversation, you know,
Yeah, we were.
and she was like, pouring into that conversation and explaining to me, you know, about her spirituality and about the things that she was learning in school and about healing, because she saw me and she knew I looked like a guy that could use some healing, I guess. She's like, and since then, we've had yoga nidra sessions and we've done Reiki sessions. And so for anyone, Jay, that might be interested in tapping into your healing powers,
Yeah.
I know that you're still in the stage where you're heavily involved at school, and your own personal private business is something that's just now in its early stages. I know the wedding was a major issue, but I know that you've got plans, and I think you've got a 12-month plan or something like that, where
Yeah.
you want to have your own practice where you're putting your healing hands on others. So are you doing private sessions now, or are you
Yes.
holding off? Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah, I am.
how would somebody that's in this area, that wanted to maybe tap into your healing powers, how would they be able to do that?
Yeah. So you can always give me a call. You can put my phone number up if you want.
Sure.
Um,
What's your the best way to get a hold of you? Phone number or email or socials?
yeah, do phone number 480
Okay.
577
Okay.
9383.
Okay.
And you could find me on Facebook as well. But I'll answer my phone. Phone is the best way to contact me. I'm not a Facebook huge on that. So give me a call, shoot me a text, whatever. Call me.
Is this
I teach.
is this correct? I'm going to put this. Oh,
Yes.
okay. So it's up there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. I teach yoga at a drug and alcohol recovery center 5 times a week, which I absolutely love doing because it's giving back to recovering addicts, right? Teaching them how to get back in their body and everything. I also do private yoga classes. I give Reiki sessions. I can coach around holistic nutrition. And I also know shamanic healing as well. So
Wow.
lots of healing the shadow, lots of getting in touch with your body, ecstatic dancing, really just coming back home to your true authentic self. If you want to have that connection back to your soul, give me a call. We can chat, we can have, lots of conversations. We can figure out the best plan of action for you. There's no one size fits all. There is, different steps for every single person. So based on what you're wanting to accomplish, what your goals are, we can come up with a plan for you, whether it's involving yoga nidra, meditation, nutrition, Reiki, therapeutic yoga. And then in about a year, I'll have my license as a massage therapist as well. So lots of different healing options for everybody if they are wanting to connect with me. My business name is called The Soul Connection Healing Arts.
And so on your Instagram, it's like Soul Connection HA? Is that something?
I don't do social, Swede.
Yeah, I know, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't do phone numbers these days either. So.
I know. Yeah.
That's
I
fair.
will make a social for it. That is happening probably during the holidays when I have off from work. I'll probably really buckle down and get my social started. So yeah, it will probably be the Soul Connection HA, if that's available on Instagram. Don't take it, someone. Thanks.
Isn't that your email, like Soul Connection HA at Gmail or something like that? I don't know.
Yes,
I
it
feel
is
like
my
I
email.
feel like I recognize that. Well,
Yep.
Jay, I feel like I'm so thankful to have ever met you. I'm so blessed to
Mhm.
have you as my best friend in this town.
Yes,
And
yes.
you've helped me heal. We've done the Reiki, we've done the Yoga Nidra. I mean, yoga is a little bit tough for me, but the Yoga Nidra wasn't.
Yep.
And so I'm proud to have you as a part of this community. I know that it's going to grow, and I'm looking forward to you being a key member and sharing your skills with anyone that wants to tap into them. Because I know you're an open book, and you're accessible like I am, and I'm very proud to have you on the show. I appreciate your time. D-Rex, if you want to say anything, parting shots before we close it out.
I just wanted to point out that was a very inspirational journey that you've been on. It's not been easy, but nothing that's worth it ever is easy. So thank you
Amen.
for being on today.
Amen. And always remember, no matter the weather, whether sunshine or rain, there's no joy without pain. Always remember, we're all in this together. Can I get a hell yeah?
Hell
Hell
yeah.
yeah. Thank you.
Ah.
But you never